competition got underway, I could see that the judges really had their work cut out for them, and indeed, the competition was fierce, and they needed to have qualified judges to be judging the people that were performing. There was maybe 10 or 12 squads performing that night, and certainly not all of them were perfect, but of the top 5 or 6, they were really excellent. I was very impressed with the skill of the individual girls and of the routines that I saw. These were elaborate 7 to 9 minute routines, much more complicated and polished than what I had remembered. Back in my day, we took the competitions very seriously and we did prepare for them vigorously, but we certainly did not perform for 7 to 9 minutes. And I mean, some of these routines looked choreographed by professionals, and maybe they had been. So I could see, like I said, that the judges had their work cut out for them, and I was very interested in getting involved. I couldn't imagine how the judges could determine the best squads from among some of these that seemed to me, at first glance, to be almost perfect. So I got involved as a judge. And I was right. I found that the criteria for judging was a lot different than it had been in my day. Back when I'd started 15 years ago, I think that the judges generally were maybe the high school principal, a math teacher, the PE teacher, a couple of parents, and maybe one former PomPom captain who might be minimally qualified to do the judging. Obviously, there are some problems with that kind of setup because those people are all affiliated with one school, and they're not going to be as objective looking at their own school. And I mean, a math teacher may or may not be qualified to judge a pom-pom competition. I didn't know what had changed in the time that I had left school, but I found out that in 1979, this organization, the Prince George's County Pom-Pom Association, was set up. A group of probably former pom-poms, coaches, sponsors, teachers got together and decided that they needed to define the sport more than it had been in the past. What exactly is a pom-pom routine supposed to be like? What is a competition supposed to have happen? What kind of judging categories should be looked at? And they worked on that for a long time and came up with this handbook that I saw the judges carrying. it's really quite thorough. They've defined the art of pom-poms as movement to music. So it's not the same as cheerleading, where there's no shouting going on. This is a combination drill team dance routine that we were seeing. I found out that to become a judge, you had to go through a training and successfully apprentice each category, and I'll discuss what the categories are in a minute. You had to successfully apprentice each category before becoming qualified in that category. There's a score sheet for each of the categories that's different according to what the category is. It's a carbon copy type of thing, and all of the sheets, a copy of all the sheets goes back to the judge's chairperson, and they particularly look at what the apprentices are writing on the sheets, whether the comments are appropriate, whether this person seems qualified to judge that category, and I think that's good. There's some quality control that they hadn't had in the past. And judges that continue to work year to year, their sheets are still periodically looked at by the judge's chairperson, because just to make sure that they're still on the right track and that they're making appropriate comments and that they're being objective. Let me talk about the judging categories now. There are 6 categories that the judges are looking at, and I'll list them and then I'll go over briefly what some of them entail. They are inspection, marching and maneuvering, which we call M&M, precision moves and dance, which I will explain, general effect, routine, and captain. Now, the captain category is judged separately. So I'll talk about that last. But of those other 5 categories, whichever squad scores the most in the combined 5 categories is the winning squad. Generally, they have a trophy for the top 3 or the top 5 squads. There is 1 judge assigned to each category for a competition. So if they're having inspection at that competition, there would be 6 judges. Each judge is only looking at that one particular thing. For example, the inspection judge is not looking at the captain, and the precision moves and dance judge is not noting the routine. Most of the judges that work for the Prince George's County Pom-Pom Association are able to judge any number of categories. Some specialize, maybe they might prefer 1 or 2 categories over another, but most of them are qualified. They're considered qualified to judge in all the categories, and they're just hired for a particular category that night. I, for example, don't feel very comfortable judging M&M. I'm not particularly fond of doing inspection, but I like the other categories a lot. And there's some people who do almost all M&M judging because that's what they really like, and they can have it because I'm not very good at that. So I'll start with inspection. Some of the competitions don't have inspections. It's up to the school that's hosting the competition whether they want to have the squads go through this. But probably more than half of them do. For the inspection, the squad is led into a particular area outside of the gym before they perform. They get into a particular formation and stand at whatever they term attention. For example, the squad might line up all in a row, all 20 or 28 girls, and stand with their pom-poms together, looking straight ahead. Whatever the team decides is what they want to do for that 5 or 10 minutes that the inspection is going on. That's the way they have to stay for the entire inspection. So, of course, they want to pick a position that's fairly comfortable because, they're going to be there for a long time. Back when I was involved, I remember that we had this policy of always smiling. We smiled through everything. We smiled through the entire inspection. I think all the squads did that. It was sort of the standard thing. That's pretty much been dropped now. A squad could, if they decide they want to smile through the whole inspection, then they can hold this very fake frozen smile for 10 minutes. Most of them opt for just an expressionless face looking straight ahead, which is fine. The inspection judge is looking at two things, uniformity and neatness. The uniformity is, they're really looking at everything from uniform spacing between the girls, uniform position of feet and hands, uniform eye gaze all in the same direction, as well as appearance from head to toe. Basically, each girl has to have the uniform look exactly the same as the other girls. They have to have exactly the same set of socks that they're going to use. The shoes, if they're white cheerleading shoes or something, have to be exactly the same brand, and they have to be absolutely spotless. So the inspection judge carries that clipboard around with the score sheet with a place to check off any place where there's a mistake. And each mistake that they see in any of those things I've mentioned, or any number of other kinds of mistakes, the squad is 1/10 of a point. The inspection is worth 20 points, and no squad is going to get a negative. If they happen to have all of their tick marks checked off and they ended up with a 0, they're not going to go into the negative column. I doubt if that would happen.